What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Season 10, Episode 14, From This Day Forward. Let's get started with Jasmine and Gino. So Jasmine and Gino, they're at home, they're making dinner, chopping up vegetables, and Gino, you can tell, is in a bad mood. He's in a salty mood about the information that Jasmine had revealed to him about her ex, Dane, giving her the remaining $2,000 for her butt implants. So that is still not sitting well with Gino. So Gino thinks that Dane is going to be expecting something in return from Jasmine for giving her the money. I guess, like something sexual in nature, and that's what's really bothering him. And Jasmine tries to explain to him that it's not like that. We're just friends, and he was just doing me a favor, and he's not going to be expecting, anything in return other than, I guess, her paying him back. And I'm really not sure if it was a loan or if it was a gift. So Gino doesn't understand why she's even talking to Dane. Why is that door even open for them to be communicating the way that they have been, for her to feel comfortable enough to ask money from him? And she says, you know what, don't worry, we're just friends, there's nothing going on. And so then somehow or another, the topic comes up of when he was still talking to his ex. And Jasmine said, well, that's different because when you were talking to your ex, you were, doing things to embarrass me, because I think it was 2 seasons ago. I'm not exactly sure, but it was that one season when Gino had gone to Panama to visit her and they took a little romantic trip somewhere. And Jasmine found out through social media or text messages or something. I think the ex reached out to Jasmine. And I told Jasmine that Gino was sending half nude pictures of her to the ex. And this started, World War III between Jasmine and Gino, because not only was she receiving these pictures of Jasmine with her, I think they were like bikini pictures and she was topless. Not only was she just receiving those pictures from Gino, and Gino was sending them to the ex because he was trying to get his ex jealous, trying to let her know that he had upgraded in women, I guess, and that Jasmine was this beautiful woman that he was now dating and she was better looking than the ex. So the ex, what she did in turn with those pictures is that she disseminated those pictures all over social media. She was sending them to different bloggers or what have you. And I think this also ended in Jasmine losing her job because these pictures were just, plastered everywhere. And she was a teacher in a school. I think she was teaching children or something. So it kind of ruined Jasmine, these photos. But for whatever reason, she still stayed with Gino. To me, the fact that he would even do that just shows his level of maturity and, what a jerk he is. But Jasmine still wanted to stay with him. So they talk about, the whole thing about communicating with exes. And, then he tells her that, he asked her, did you do anything to provoke my ex, to cause her to do what she did with those photos? And Jasmine was absolutely pissed off when he asked her that, because it was almost like he was implying that she did this to herself, that it was because of her actions, her naked pictures or half naked pictures ended up all over the internet. So she had every right to be extremely pissed off at Gino. So she's like, I can't believe that you would ask me this. And so to get back at him, she tells him, you know what I should have done? I should have slept with Dane one last time because he's so much better in bed than you are. And then Gino tells her, well, my exes are better in bed than you are. And so Jasmine was like, well, I have no doubt that your exes are good in bed because you yourself, you're trash. So then she storms into her room. She stomps upstairs, goes into her room, and she's crying. And she's saying that she's not going to marry Gino. So here we go again. Like I said, Jasmine and Gino, this is their pattern, this rinse and repeat pattern of getting into a really heated argument, insulting each other, saying that they should be sleeping with other people were better in bed, all this craziness. And then, Gino even said himself, he was like, you know what, I'm just going to give her a few minutes to calm down, and then I'm going to come back and apologize, and everything is going to be okay. And that's exactly what happened. 30 minutes later, he comes into the bathroom where she had locked herself, and he apologizes for what he said, and she accepts his apology. And so then they make a pact to no longer communicate with their exes. And Gino tells Jasmine, I want you to even tell Dane that you will no longer speak with him. So she calls Dane and leaves a message and tells him that because she's getting married and she's moving on with this marriage to Gino, that, it's going to be inappropriate for her to continue to talk to him. And that's the message that she leaves for Dane. I don't know what else to say because I say the same thing every single week about this. It's always something. If it's not, money from exes, pictures being sent to exes, if it's not getting along with in-laws or whatever, it's always something that causes them to fight. Then they kiss and they make up. He even wanted her to talk in that baby talk after they made up. How she'll like, oh, my little Gino, my little whatever. She does that little baby voice. It's always the same thing with these two people. I have nothing else to say except that next week they're going to argue about something else. Kiss and make up, argue about something else, and kiss and make up. Moving on to Sophie and Rob. Oh, by the way, when they show the flashback scenes of when they were in Panama and they took that trip where they had that big argument about the pictures, I was looking at Jasmine and how pretty she was back then. Her face was so pretty back then. She's still a very attractive woman, but you can definitely see the difference in her face after she's had all this work done. But she was such a pretty woman back then. But anyways, moving on. Sophie and Rob. So on the way to Sophie's mom's hotel, Sophie's mom is telling her daughter, that she felt like Rob was gaslighting her. Because she was telling her daughter, whenever I talk to Rob, he makes me feel like, I'm losing my mind, like I'm crazy. And Sophie was like, yeah, I feel the same way too. He just has that way of talking to you that makes you feel like you're crazy. So Sophie's mom tells her that if she stays with Rob, that this is going to completely change her. And she's going to forget about all of her dreams and plans, all the things that she wanted to do with her life, that being with Rob is going to kill all of that. Rob, in the meantime, is sending her a video of like this really nice luxury car. And the message that he sends with it is, this could be us. But she totally ignores it. Sophie tells us that she just wants Rob to apologize and then they can move forward. But Rob is extremely stubborn, so I don't know. He might, because he did show up at that Airbnb that she was staying in by herself with a rose and an apology. So I'm pretty sure he's going to end up apologizing. So Sophie's mom asks her, what is the probability of this wedding actually happening and you and him getting married? And Sophie was like, well, right now I feel like it's 50-50. So they arrive at the hotel and it seems like her mom is really happy that there's trouble in paradise between Sophie and Rob. And she tells her mom, I've resisted reaching out to him. And her mom tells her, good girl, be strong. So her mom really does not want to see this wedding happening at all whatsoever because she cannot stand Rob. Rob, on the other hand, he is out with his homeboys or hanging out at the laundromat and he's venting to his friends about Sophie and the mother and how the mother completely disrespected him. And he said that he has no respect for Claire, Sophie's mom, after she said that, what did she say about him? That he wasn't a real man. So after Claire told him that he wasn't a real man, Rob was done with her. So his friends ask him on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the likelihood of y'all actually getting married? And Rob says he's at a 4 right now. And the friends are like, these two people shouldn't be getting married anyway, but if they do end up getting married, they're both going to be miserable. And I totally agree because they don't know how to argue effectively. Couples are going to argue. That's, a given. That's a guarantee. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have arguments. But I think that if you don't know how to argue effectively, there's always going to be these type of issues, these resentment, the anger, one person not wanting to apologize, issues not really getting resolved, because you're not going to learn how to argue effectively. Because to me, when you argue with somebody, it's like, okay, we're having a disagreement, but can we both agree that we're trying to find a solution instead of trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong? And a lot of the times when people argue, it's always trying to prove that you're right and the other person's wrong. And it's not really about finding a solution, because if you really are trying to find a solution, you're going to admit that somebody's going to have to admit that they're wrong. Someone is going to have to be the bigger person and step down and admit that they were wrong, that they said something they shouldn't have said, they did something they shouldn't have done. But Sophie and Rob, I think they're both a little bit too young to realize any of that. Moving on to Nikki and Igor. So they're in their car and they're on their way to go do some horseback riding. And in the car, they start arguing. Initially, I wasn't quite sure what they were arguing about, but it seems like Igor was upset with Nikki because she doesn't do a lot of cooking and cleaning. And this is what he's expecting from her. Remember, Nikki tells us every single week that Moldovan men they want to have a submissive woman who cooks and cleans, etc. So he tells her, you don't do enough, you don't clean enough, you don't cook enough. And Nikki tells him, but I'm the guest. You're hosting me. I'm the guest. You're supposed to cater to me. And if it was the other way around, if you're visiting me in America, I would be taking care of you. I would be doing the cooking and the cleaning and the hosting and all of that. But because I'm visiting you, yeah, you're going to have to cater to me. And so then he starts talking to her a little bit more aggressively. And he tells her that, she needs to change her attitude. She needs to be more focused on the relationship and be more positive and stop starting arguments or whatever he was saying. But he was really talking to her aggressively, I think more aggressively than we're used to seeing. And it's because he's utilizing what his friend had advised him, which was you have to be more aggressive because you're the man in the relationship. Because his biggest issue with Nikki is that Nikki is more aggressive than he is. Nikki is the one that controls the relationship and that bosses him around. And so his friends told him, well, you need to take that control back. You need to let her know who's the man in this relationship. And so he was talking to her like this really demanding tone, like you need to change, you need to do this, and you need to do that. So we'll see if that's going to work on Nikki. So when they get to the place, he basically tells her, fix your face and behave while we're here. That's what it sounded like to me. And so they do the horseback riding, they take pictures, and after all of that, they have a conversation about their relationship. And, it's basically like how they're going to try to improve their relationship moving forward and how they're looking forward to their engagement party. And as they're talking, they're standing facing one another, and they're standing pretty close to each other. And I thought it was kind of interesting how she took his hand and said, give me your hand, and placed his hand on her hip. It's almost as if, I don't know. To me, that was problematic. That was kind of problematic. It was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. Like maybe she felt like we're in this moment. We're having this really intimate conversation about our relationship and about our feelings. Why isn't he touching me? Why aren't his hands on me? Because this is what the mood calls for. And Igor's not even thinking that. His mind is not even there to think that, I need to be lovey-dovey and affectionate and touchy-feely, which is absolutely fine. But it's just interesting to me that she felt the need to maneuver his hand on her hip. I don't know. That's just me. Moving on to Ashley and Manuel. So they go to Niagara Falls. Ashley surprises Manuel with the trip to Niagara Falls, which is something that he has really, really wanted to see. So they get there. Manuel is very shocked and surprised, and he's really happy about it. He gets really, really excited. He was almost like a kid again when he saw Niagara Falls. So while they're there trying to enjoy the scenery, for whatever reason, Ashley feels like this was the perfect opportunity to bring up some issues and some conflict. So she says to him that she's expecting him to adapt to American culture. And he was like, I'm never going to adapt to you spending money as frivolously as you do. I will never accept that. So then they start arguing, and he ends up walking away, and she follows him, and they argue some more. And I had no idea why Ashley wanted to bring up such a serious topic at such a beautiful place when they should just be having fun, relaxing, enjoying the view. But instead, they want to have this serious conversation where they will never find a resolution for. So then later on, they talk it out. They apologize, whatever they do. Everything is fine now. And then they take the ferry boat to the actual falls. And while they were going, on the ferry boat going to the falls, it was like a religious experience for Ashley or something. And it was, being so close to the water and being sprayed by the falls. She said this was like symbolic of washing away all the negative energy that they're having in their relationship. So the girl was really in that moment, and he was enjoying it as well. And it was kind of like they were, trying to start over. Like I guess it was symbolic of washing away the bad energy and starting over and starting fresh. And we'll just see how long that lasts. At least they weren't, having sex. Okay. we got a break from that. Moving on to Jasmine and Gino. So okay. Sorry. I already talked about Jasmine and Gino. Excuse me. Moving on to Annalie and Clayton. So Clayton is spending time with his mom. They're driving, I don't know where. And the mom brings up the issues that she's having with Annalie. So she's complaining about that. Annalie doesn't cook enough American. She doesn't cook any American meals. She wants a cheeseburger here and there, some mac and cheese, and apple pie, something. But it's all Peruvian food. And she's also complaining about Annalie not cleaning up after she's done cooking. And she's also complaining about Annalie not making more of an effort to learn English. And so so Clayton feels like his mom is basically just complaining about nothing, that his mom has a tendency to be kind of passive aggressive. And because they're always speaking Spanish to each other, he thinks his mom is just being paranoid. Like she's thinking that they're talking about her when they're not. So he thinks that maybe now it's time for his mom to get her own place. Move out of the closet and get your own place. Which I don't understand why that hasn't already been done. If you were bringing, this girl over to America to be your wife, like why haven't you already made arrangements for that to happen? But I don't know. So they're a few days away from the wedding. They're extremely stressed out. Nothing has been done. Clayton is depending on his sister to take care of all the wedding stuff. The sister doesn't want to be taken advantage of, so she's only going to do so much. But she's still expecting Clayton and Anna Lee to do the bulk of the wedding preparation. So they're expecting her to do it. She's expecting them to do it. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. So Clayton and Anna Lee, they're arguing in Spanish about all these wedding issues, and the mom can overhear it. When Clayton goes into the living room, the mom is like, hey, what the hell are y'all arguing about? What's going on? So as he's talking to his mom, Anna Lee can overhear that conversation. And so she comes out and she wants to know what the hell is going on. And I'm just like, look, everybody here is grown. All y'all are adults. If y'all are not getting along, somebody move the hell out. Nobody here is a child. Nobody has to take care of anybody else. So if you don't like the arrangements, whatever these arrangements are, somebody's going to have to move out. Clayton, you and Annalie go find a place, or Mom, you go find a place. There's just no need to live in this constant conflict. From there on, Clayton and Anna Lee, they get in the car and they drive from Kentucky to Indiana. I'm not quite sure why they're getting married in Indiana instead of Kentucky. And the mom didn't come with them, so I don't know if the mom's going to be at the wedding or not. I was really confused. So they're driving to Indiana, and when they get there, they're staying in a rental house. Clayton's sister comes over. So she comes over and she kind of gives them an update of the things that she was able to take care of. Number one, she couldn't get the damn llama that they wanted to represent Peru. The officiant, no one has gotten the officiant yet, but Clayton is not worried about that because he thinks that you can just pick up an officiant from anywhere and they'll just show up at your wedding and officiate your wedding. The decorations are sparse, so nothing really has been done. And the sister is like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like once we see the wedding, it's going to be beautiful. Everything's going to get done. So why even wasting our time talking about this? Then Anna Lee wanted to know about the bachelorette party. She wants to know, have y'all taken care of the bachelorette party? And the sister is like, yeah, we're going to have a few friends over, have some snacks, sit by the fire pit. She really doesn't want to tell exactly what's going to be happening with the bachelorette party because she doesn't want Clayton to know that she's hired a stripper who's going to strip down all the way down to his socks. So she kind of kept a lot of stuff unsaid, but she's got that taken care of. And I'm pretty sure Anna Lee will not be disappointed. Moving on to Sam and Citra. Citra's family is going over to Sam's house to meet Sam's father. Sam's father has prepared dinner for them, which was quite like the blandest thing that you can possibly prepare when you're making American food. It was fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese. Okay, now they complained about the food, that it wasn't very flavorful. And I'm thinking, wow. There's so many other things that could have been prepared that would have been a little bit more exciting than mashed potatoes and mac and cheese. But so they kind of see that as symbolic of all American food. And okay, whatever, that's fine. So then they talk about the differences in culture, the differences in foods, and how the food in Indonesia is a lot more flavorful, a lot more spicier, blah, 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 blah. They talk about the upcoming wedding, and Sam's dad said that he's really proud of Sam for showing some maturity because out of all his children, Sam was the only one that really hadn't reached that maturity level yet. He wasn't on his own. He wasn't independent. And now that he's getting married, it seems like he's grown up a whole lot. And so he's really proud of his son. Then they talk about the difference in drug laws. And the father says, Citra's father says, in Indonesia, you get 5 years in prison for one joint. And so the father, he is like, he's not fooling around with the drugs. He doesn't want nothing to do with drugs whatsoever. He's a cop in Indonesia. He's a police officer. So to him, drugs are illegal. They're bad. They're wrong. And he has no patience for anybody that uses drugs. So then it comes time for Sam to finally tell his future father-in-law about his diversion program. So he tells his father-in-law that he got in trouble with some prescription medication. It was in a whatever the situation was. It was in a bottle that wasn't in his name. The medicine was expired. I have no idea. And because he was already on probation for some other things, he has to go back to court and his diversion might be lifted and he might have to spend time in jail. So the father was not happy about that at all. And he made it very clear that if Sam has to go to jail, Citra's coming back to Indonesia. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. This is a really boring episode, y'all. It was extremely boring. Not much happened, but I don't have time or the energy to go into another rant about how disappointed I am in 90 Day Fiance season 10. It is what it is. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm out of here. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.